Okay, so like I said, I was going to work on this video about the reparations that I think black people need, not the reparations we necessarily would want. Now, for years, I heard, cash the check. Black people should get the check. We should get paid for reparations. I absolutely agree. But I think, and if just bear with me when I say this, I don't think cashing the check is the right idea. The reason why I say that is because I just don't think we know what to do with that kind of money. We see it with celebrities all the time. We just try to live like Beyonce and Jay Z while the money's going back into the white people's pockets. You see what I'm saying? I just don't think it's a good idea for us to just get handed however much thousands, millions of dollars, and then we end up being poor again in like 20 years. Now, what I think should happen for black people is I do believe that reparations needs to get passed. I ain't never going to deny that shit. And in 2022, I believe they decided that we found out 77% of African Americans are in favor of reparations. I don't know what the other 23% is on, but whatever. And I personally stand by the fact that if we're going to do reparations, we should do it correctly. And if we're going to do it, we should do it this way. I think economic reparations would be the best case scenario for the black community to thrive. I do believe that economic reparations is the best case for the black community to actually be able to build generational wealth and pass this shit down. That's just how I look at it. That's just what it probably should be. At the end of the day, I think what the government should have to do is take every major city, give us our own little city block. We build that with nothing but black owned businesses, ECUs, real estate firms, food, clothes, whatever we need. Maybe even some black owned supermarkets in some of these sections. We call that our black areas. Only we can buy business on that land. Only we can function out of that land. That way, it's just us. Hell, I wouldn't be surprised if we had a black bank in some of those places. We used to have black banks, but black people didn't go to them for some ass reason, but whatever. So now that's what we need. I think that's the best case scenario. That keeps our money flowing back into our pockets, as I briefly mentioned in the Black Business Growing video. I think that's the best, 100% most accurate. That's why Asian money be so big. That's why Indian money be so big. If you ever look at those Asians, right? Every time there's an abandoned building, the first thing that pops into my head is the Asian people gonna get it. They're gonna turn it into a laundromat or a fucking Chinese store. And that's exactly what they do every time. There is always an Asian laundromat opening up somewhere. I said a black owned laundromat would be lovely. And I always look at it because it's always in our neighborhoods. I'm like, why are black people not buying these spots up? Hell, why am I not getting one of these spots while I'm in college right now? But when I get into real estate, best believe I am trying to make sure people know that this space is available so we can get it. Because it just don't make sense. Some Asian people be like, shit. I'm gonna go right over to the Asian bank where we got all our money, and I'm gonna turn this into a fucking laundromat. We're gonna watch the money grow. Asian people get to do what they want to do because Asian people have economic power. White people have economic power. Indian people have economic power. We don't have as much, but we're growing. And when we get to a good 15% to 20%, I think we can ask for a lot more. But right now, we're not contributing that much. But we are contributing a better portion than we otherwise were. And something that needs to be on the lookout is the reparations would work best that way. I do think another form of reparations that we could have on top of that is access to college funding. I think black Americans should have the right to go to college on a much cheaper number just to level the playing field. I think that maybe cut our college tuition by like 35 to 40% at non HBCUs and have us up in there as a form of educational reparation. So economic on top of education. Like I said, if education is the key, economics is the lock. You use that key to get to that lock. And that's how we, open the door to communal prosperity. Now, is it a perfect plan? No. But do I think it works? Yes. Now, remember, they were going to give cash payments somewhere to black people. It might have been, it might have been California, and I think the NAACP said no, but they gave an alternative to what we could have. And I've been thinking about this ever since. I said educational and economical reparations would be better than money, and it would be better in the long run. I think it would be better long term. I'm more of a long term person, so I'm looking at like what would this create? Yeah, yeah, something a bit. Now, if I trusted black people with that much money handed to us that we would turn it into economic prowess, I would be okay with us turning it into economic prowess. But the problem is, I don't think we will. So that's just my biggest concern. So that's where we got to get this part of the problem under control. We don't really know what to do with money when we get it sometimes. It just is what it is. And I damn sure don't want us to get that money and start going to the Louis store and the Gucci store and all them white fashion people and giving them our money. That's just not going to go for me. So let's just take that in mind. But I want to read something. Economic reparations for black people in the United States refers to proposals for compensation, formal acknowledgement, and structural reform to address the cumulative economic and social harms caused by centuries of slavery, racial segregation, and ongoing systemic discrimination. I do think that all of these things are exactly why we should need reparations because they did all this shit on purpose. You know what I mean? Y'all purposely targeted African Americans. Not to mention, hear this out. Now, forms of reparations would be direct payments, individual monetary compensation to eligible descendants of enslaved people, investments in programs. This is the one I do believe would be good. Community wide initiatives such as grants for home ownership, education, and business creation, which is pretty much, like I said, economical, as well as investments in infrastructure in historically underserved black neighborhoods. Yes, yes, that's the one that I want. Investments in programs and economic. Now we got policy changes, addressing the structural causes of racial disparities through new zoning practices, educational reforms, and criminal justice reform. Also beautiful. Formal apology, just very much America saying sorry for being dickheads for 200, 300, 400 years, but fuck the apology, just pay me up at this point. So, what I will say is I do believe Illinois was like, I think Illinois did give out reparations to black people. It's like cannabis tax revenue to fund housing assistance for black residents. California established a fucking reparations task force to kind of come up with reparations proposals. Nigga, what do you need a task force for? Y'all know what y'all was on. And then you got Asheville, North Carolina, and Providence, Rhode Island, also initiated local reparations processes, which means they're working on it, but they haven't landed one. So I think this reparations thing is going to be like a state by state basis. And if you live in Pennsylvania, like I do, there's a good chance we ain't getting that shit because they goofy as shit over here in Pennsylvania. But I want to say something about why I can't stand when they say, you know, why black people can't get reparations and it costs too much. But the problem that I have is when it comes to the reparations conversation, Japanese families got reparations for World War II. People who have lost family members in 9/11 got reparations for 9/11, and Americans held hostage in Iran. So those demographics and groups were given reparations for situations that happened to them, but the black community can't get reparations because why would us niggas give reparations? And it would cost too much, and it's just not affordable. And this, that, and the third. I'm like, hey, y'all should have gave it to us when y'all were supposed to give it to us, which was 1865. That 40 acres and a mule shit was there for a reason, because we were supposed to get land to build our profit on. And when we did build our land, we got eminent domain out those motherfuckers. We got condemnation out those motherfuckers. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter. Y'all have done everything in your power to prevent the African American community from thriving and doing what we got to do. So now it is time for that to be reprimanded and for African Americans to be left alone after this so we can build our community up like everybody else had the freedom of doing without dealing with the bullshit. But yes, educational, economical, community programs, things like that. This is what the black community needs. And I think this is a good step. I think there are states that are working on it, but it's always a issue when it affects us. We know that. We all know that, but it's better than nothing. So, with that being said, I'm going to end this video here. If y'all enjoyed it, let me know how I feel down below. Please like, comment, subscribe for more. I will see y'all on the next one.